I'm James with NetNewsLedger. We're in the studio and we're talking with Patrick Brown. Patrick, you're running for the leadership of the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario. Introduce yourselves to our voters and readers.
Well, I've been a member of Parliament for the last almost 9 years, a city councillor for 5 years before that, and a member of the Conservative Party for almost 22 years, and running for the Progressive Conservative leadership because I love this province, I love this country, and seeing the Progressive Conservative Party give away the last election, score goals on our own net, I found so frustrating. And I think if we do the right things, if we rebuild our party and build the broad tent that we need to win, that we can govern this province and be there for the type of accomplishments that we've always been there for. When I think of the PC party, I think of the party that is responsible for 9% of Ontario being designated as parkland, for being the party that brought voting rights to females, the party that's started universal health care in Ontario, the community college system, protection for wastewater. There's so many things this party has been responsible for that have built this province, yet in recent years we've allowed side issues to derail what is in the best interest of Ontario.
So what is the best interest of Ontario that you'd bring to the leadership of the PC party?
Well, first of all, I look at our party and I look at groups that are not there, young people, new Canadian communities, firefighters, police officers, nurses. I know those groups have inherently conservative values, but we need to do a better job at explaining those and building those relationships. In my campaign launch in Barrie last week, we had a crowd that was very diverse, that had representatives from police unions, fire associations, the nurses association. I think that speaks to our party when we've won. We've had that broad reach. I really believe that it's important that Conservatives rebuild and we get it right. Because I look at Ontario now. In Ontario, if we ever merited change in government, it was now. This government, whether it was e-health, whether it was the gas plant scandals, whether it's the fact they're running a deficit bigger than the rest of the country combined, this has been a government that has been so mismanaged, yet we became the ballot question. We allowed our party to be run by insiders at Queen's Park, to become out of touch with the rest of the province, and frankly I found our party became too negative, too partisan. How I would approach it is I would approach politics as being more cooperative, more conciliatory. I know last time we said we're going to vote against the Liberal budget, we're not going to read it. I think that sends the wrong message. What I'd love to do is say, I want to provide thoughtful analysis. I will highlight the parts of the budget that make sense and compliment the Liberals for what they do well. I will vocally criticize them on what's not in the best interest of Ontario. But the notion everything the Liberals do is horrible and everything we do is perfect isn't sincere, it's not open-minded. And what I want to do is I actually want to lend a hand of cooperation to our political opponents. Because grandstanding today does not help Ontario families tomorrow. I want our party to be the one that is always reasonable, that is always open-minded. And I've always said there's no monopoly on a good idea. So there's an idea that originates with NDP or the Liberals that benefits Ontario, I will rally behind it. And certainly in my 14 years as a politician, as a public servant, I've always tried to aspire to that standard. On City Council in Barrie, I worked with all sides to do what was best for our city. And in Ottawa, I have consistently worked with all parties to champion issues I care about. I look at neurological disorders. I lost my grandmother to Alzheimer's a number of years ago, and it hit me hard. And I worked with Kirsty Duncan from the Liberals to do a major national study on neurological disorders because she also had a concern over MS. I look at the line of death benefit for first responders, where I worked with Ralph Goodale, a Liberal MP, to get a private member's bill through the House of Commons. I will work with all parties. I will work with anyone that is intent on doing something in the best interest of this province or this city. And that's what we do in the real world. That's what we do with our friends and family. We work together, and it's my goal to bring that type of approach to politics at Queen's Park.
Now here in the north, the biggest issue for a lot of us is the Ring of Fire and mining. What needs to happen there? It seems to be moving, it goes in leaps and starts.
And my concern is that everyone is excited about it, but there's little action, there's little effort to move it forward. You know, I'm a big fan of my colleague Tony Clement and Greg Rookford, and I think they've spoken eloquently about the opportunity this presents. You know, Tony Clement talked about $100 billion potential. I think it's important to approach this like a team, to get it right. Certainly we need to pay respect to the First Nation communities. You know, I'm a lawyer and I'm very well aware of Section 35 and the Constitution as formulated in 1982. And I realize that we need to deal with this issue to make sure we get all stakeholders on side so that we can move forward with this, not in a future generation's lifespan, but now. And I think that involves a campaign of respecting all stakeholders. But I'd also highlight, you know, I think one of the challenge the mining sector on a whole has in Ontario is the mismanagement of the hydro file by the provincial Liberal government is really costly. You know, I was having a coffee the other day with Chris Hodgson, who runs Ontario Mining Association. He mentioned to me one of the greatest challenges his association has is with predictability in hydro prices, to the point that you're seeing some mining companies look at development elsewhere, even as close as the Manitoba border, just because there's not that price predictability. So, you know, I realize government's got a role to play here, both with predictability in the energy sector, but also in infrastructure.
So for people interested in finding out more about Patrick Brown, where do they go?
My website is votepatrickbrown.ca, and a video of my campaign launch and some of my planks for the reform and renewal of our party are on that. But know that you know, I'm very much engaged in my campaign myself, and if you ever want to call me, you ever want to email me directly, my cell phone and email address are on my website, and I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm a big user of social media. That's why I love websites like yours, because I believe in news outlets like yours, because I'm a big believer that this is not the 24-hour news cycle where you read the morning paper and find out what happened. I think news happens immediately. And that's what I love about Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, is that it allows for immediate back and forth. And know that if you have questions, I'm at Brown Barrie, that's my Twitter handle, or on Facebook, and eager to reach out to anyone that has suggestions of how we can build the PC Party of Ontario and build the province of Ontario.
Patrick, thank you for coming in. We always say we do news at the speed of the internet at NetNewsLedger, so it's been good to have you here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.